Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Join me in prayer. Dear most beloved Heavenly Parents, true parents, thank you for this wonderful day that we could be here together on New Year's Eve. I pray this can be a new beginning, a new start for our next year. I'm so thankful that so many people can be here today to rejoice with each other and share stories and experience this morning with you. I pray however our week was, whether with family or traveling or working, that we can come here, relax, and feel free to be open and loved this morning. I want to offer this day to you, Heavenly Parents, in my name, Neil and Teresa Rishel, blessed your couple. Aju. All right, so let's take a few minutes. We can all rise. We can walk around the room, give hugs, and let's just greet each other for a few minutes. So we'll do that now. All right. I hope everyone said hello to everybody. We can make our way back to our seats and we can continue with service. All right. Oh, wait. You can't do last minute announcement. I'm sorry. You can't.
Impromptu.
Sorry, we can't do that anymore. Nope. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for greeting everybody. Is there any guests that haven't been here before, haven't been here in a long time, that like to say hello or just greet really quickly? Does anyone have a guess? In the back? Okay. Awesome. Welcome, Austria. Woohoo! Yeah, Austria for life. Welcome. Any other guests? Okay, awesome. Welcome back. It's good to see you guys. Parents always proud of their children. Any other guests? All right here.
What do we do? Stand up? Hi, this is my first visit to Colorado.
All right. Colorado.
And I don't understand why it's such a secret. It's such a beautiful state. I just can't believe it. So I want to move down here tomorrow. So my name is Bob Love, and I'm related to this guy. Actually, all these guys and gals, so it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for letting me come.
Thank you. Welcome. Any other guests? All right. Well, if you're here for the first time, there's a little gift in the back, so you can pick it up on your way out. Just a little, welcome. Okay. So, we're going to be having our sermon, and we're going to watch a video first, but I'm going to introduce him a little bit. He's a really amazing guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's very open-minded and also very clear on what he wants in life. And I respect him a lot, even though he's such a humble person. And so his sermon's going to be kind of about customizing your life and expressing what's most important to him and sharing that with you guys. So as we watch this short clip, just keep in mind and prepare ourselves for the person that will be giving our sermon.
Come on. Oh, for crap. Hello, Peter. What's happening? I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay? Oh, and I almost forgot. I'm also gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday, too, okay? We lost some people this week, and we need to sort of play catch-up. Thanks.
So I was sitting in my cubicle today, and I realized ever since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. So that means that every single day that you see me, that's on the worst day of my life.
What about today? Is today the worst day of your life?
Yeah.
Wow, that's messed up. I'm sorry. Go on.
Is there any way that you could sort of just zonk me out so that, I don't know that I'm at work in here? Could I come home and think that I've been fishing all day or something?
He's a little nervous. Thank you. Everyone, welcome Andrew Love.
Neil's notes are just a picture of himself with his shirt off, flexing. What's up with that? So that was from a dated movie from my youth, which sometimes movies hold up and sometimes they don't. That's called Office Space. But basically, the guy hates his life, and he gets hypnotized. I think it's accidental. That therapist guy ends up having a heart attack before he can break the spell, and the guy just ends up being a bit of a renegade, and he goes to work and he just stops caring, and his life gets a lot better because he stops being a slave to his thoughts and his worries. Okay? So I was supposed to show a clip, so I chose that clip because it's all about, I talk a lot. It's funny because I was speaking in Las Vegas. I was at that carp retreat. I was speaking, and they didn't mention it, because I talk about stuff that is difficult to talk about. I went and I talked to the carp kids about pornography, and that's why they didn't mention it, because I don't think they know how to put that into an announcement just yet. But when I speak, I can't help but sound like a motivational speaker sometimes, because I'm so hopped up on life. And please don't mistake this as a motivational speech, because sometimes those are nice, but they don't last. You know, it's like a cup of coffee, you know? That good feeling you get right after a cup of coffee, and you're in the zone, and then you can take on life. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then 2 hours later, you have a headache, and you just feel like taking a nap. So I don't want that to be this, okay? But I have been noticing certain things because I've been counseling a lot of people lately over the past couple, well, I've been a pastor twice, so that's like that whole thing. But then specifically with sexuality and very personal issues, and I'm getting into people's lives in a way that I've never had access before, and I see this contradiction of people, especially idealistic people, who have this very clear ideal, and their life is in reality far from that, and I see that can sometimes crush people, being too far away from your ideal. So I wanted to talk about that and how we can fix that, because it's very much a fixable thing, okay? Okay? So just know this is going to end well. It's going to end well. Because regardless, I'll get off stage and we can all go and have delicious food. But it's going to end well, even within this talking. So, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I really live by it, or I try to, which is the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I might have even included that last time I was here. And some people attribute it to Peter Drucker, who's just some business guy, but also Abraham Lincoln has been told to have said this. But the idea is this, is that like in this world, there's like, it's unprecedented amounts of change are happening all around us in every facet of life. And that's disconcerting for a lot of people because they don't know where they stand in all this change. If the world is changing and you don't know where to stand, then it's hard to know where to go, right? But if you take the same scenario and you just kind of change your thinking about it a little bit, then that means that every possible door is open and you just have to pick which one you want to go through and go through with extreme prejudice. So if you want to work on a part of the world, now's the best time because you can literally do anything. Every door imaginable is open, right? Do you believe that? Does it just sound like a bunch of hyperbole? Like, people are becoming extremely wealthy because ideas are now able to, you can spread an idea within a tweet, for better or for worse. You know, Twitter can be like a sewage system of ideas, but it can also be a place where people exchange ideas and movements can start rapidly, right? People can become extremely wealthy, but also people can find healing in ways that they weren't able to before, because before isolation was a geographical thing. But now you can connect with people by taking out your phone, okay? So nobody actually knows, and the principle says even God doesn't know necessarily how things are gonna go. There's always two ways it can go, and God just opens the doors for us, and it's always up to us whether we walk through the door that's most helpful or most hurtful. And depends on really our habit and our belief in our own ability to create change. So I think this is super exciting because it's more true now than ever that nobody knows what's going to happen next. So why let other people decide? Why not be a part of that decision-making process? I personally refuse to let other people shape this world without a say. I want a say in this conversation, right? That's why I'm going around. I don't like necessarily going around. I went around America, and then we did a tour of Korea. I was speaking in English with a Korean translator, speaking to sometimes 90-year-old, 80-year-old, 70-year-old men and women about pornography. That's not like an enjoyable hobby. Like, I didn't grow up wanting to do that, but I'm doing it because now's the time. Because after we did that Korean tour, we opened up gates of conversation and of people like finding out stuff about themselves and about their faith that has never been available before because people weren't ready for this conversation. After that tour, things really changed in Korea, and this whole conversation changed because I want it to change because I want people to be free. I really want people to be free so that God can really work through them, so that amazing things can happen, right? So, I fundamentally believe this to be true, and I've observed it to be true, is that you are just basically the total sum of a bunch of habits, right? Your finances, you're the result. Your finances are the result of a bunch of decisions that you made along the way. So a lot of people spend, especially in New York. When I lived in New York, everything's expensive there. Breathing is expensive over there. It's either expensive to live there or to get there. I was in New Jersey once, and you know the George Washington Bridge? When I moved there, it was $8 to cross the bridge, just to cross the bridge. And the one price hike went to $12. And I went there, last time I was there, it was like almost $15, and I was 10 cents short. And I was like, I only have $14.90. And the person wouldn't look at me, and they gave me a ticket that said, you'll get billed in the mail with a surcharge, Everything's super expensive there. But coffee is really expensive there, because Starbucks is more expensive there. And I saw people buying coffee every day. And think about that compounding amount of money that every day. Yeah, I mean, you're in New York, right? Yeah, I know you're a coffee person, aren't you? You're a cappuccino person, yeah. It's so delicious and it's so tempting, but having 2 cappuccinos a day, that's like a car. That's in a year, that's a car, right? So that's just money. But when you talk about that in terms of your habits, there's definitely a compounding effect that occurs, right? And the best analogy is like, if I were to give you, and you probably already know the answer, but if I were to give you, say, $5.7 million cash, cold hard cash, which some people only deal in cryptocurrency now, so that's like nothing to them. But say I were to give you either $5.7 million cash or 1 penny that doubled every single day for a month, which one would you take? The penny is a better decision over the long term, because over a month, if it's a 30-day month, it turns into 5.3, so maybe 5.7 would have, but if this is a 31-day month, that turns into over $10 million from 1 penny, doubling every single day, that amount of money. So if you think about that just in terms of spirituality, in terms of emotion, say somebody says something about you, they hurt your feelings, and every single day you add to that fire of saying, I hate this person, this person is like this, then emotionally, that's who they become to you. It's not even like I think they are, that's who this person is when you think about them. And it's like you think about them and then you feel that about them. The good news is that they discover that you can literally change how you feel about yourself and about everything if you want to, but it's that compounding effect that you have to invest in deciding who you want to be, what type of person you want to be in this world, what type of child of God do you want to be. You have to invest in that. Even if you can't feel it yet, you work on it enough and you become that, for better or for worse. So, I want to talk about this a bit because, anyway, I'm dealing with a lot of people, and I see that a lot of people say a lot of things, but they don't necessarily do a lot of things, right? And when you do this, your word, so your covenant, your word is your bond, and that bond has value in this world, and that's either a high value or a low value. So when you say something, I had a friend, I'm not going to mention names, but you know her, she was one of my best friends in high school. She was always late for everything. Everything. It was impossible. You say, okay, I'm in your house, I'm going to go outside. Can you meet me outside in 5 minutes? She says, see you there in 5 minutes. I'm just going to put on some makeup. An hour later, it's like, how big of a face do you have? Why did that take an hour to just come outside, right? And so when she said, I will meet you somewhere at 5 o'clock, you just knew that has no value. What you said, that 5 o'clock that you just said, is not a 5 o'clock. It's very relative. So that, in that case, her word had very little value. But that means that there's a lack of integrity there, right? So you want to have a word that actually has value in this word, that means something. And that's through action. That's through proving it again and again, okay? But the reason I bring this up is because that starts with you. When you make a promise to yourself and to God, it's like, do you keep that promise? Because I know a lot of people will start a condition, or let's say you hear, and then the reason I bring this up is because it's a new year, New Year's resolutions. The gyms are full for January and a bit of February, and then it's like a great place to buy real estate, because there's nobody in the gyms by March, right? So why does that happen? It's because people actually don't believe in the promises they make with themselves a lot of the time. And that's when you do that enough times, you start doubting your own ability to fulfill basic things that you promise yourself. So I'm telling you, this year, please understand that your word, you can create just like that compounding effect. You start by making little promises. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to get up at this time. And then you do it, and then you do it the next day, and then the next day, and all of a sudden you have mastery over that thing. And then you can take that victory and move it up to the next notch. Because if you don't have a foundation, that's all like foundational work is like character development, having integrity. That's so that when you do get a blessing, that you can keep that blessing, right? Because I remember hearing a radio interview with this guy whose job it was to, if somebody wins the lottery, if they win $100 million in the lottery, you don't get $100 million in your bank account. You get installments, little by little, over the course of however long, 10 years, whatever. You get like monthly payments. And so this guy's job, he represented a company that had a lot of money, and he would go to people and say, you just won $100 million, but you only get, say, $100,000 a month. I'll give you a check for $30 million that you can have right now. And that company ends up making money off of other people's short-sightedness, essentially. But he would go back and visit these people. And through his findings, it was upwards of 70% of people within 5 years of winning the lottery, 70% plus, were more miserable and more broke within 5 years. Because they didn't understand money. They didn't work. It was just a blessing, but they didn't have a foundation to receive that blessing, so it became a curse. And that's very much true of relationships too, of marriages. If you're not ready to be married, and that's why I was speaking with Carp, and I was really trying to drill this home, is that a lot of people try to jump into relationships and they don't even know who they are. And then that relationship becomes a curse. And you end up hating that person, or it ends up being very toxic because you don't even know yourself. So having a foundation of integrity is extremely important to enjoy the things of life. So if you want to have a great 2018, then it's really important to build a foundation to be able to enjoy. Because you might have the exact same life, but if you don't have like the ability to see and enjoy that life, then you might not even enjoy it, even though the same things are happening, okay? So I just wanted to go over a couple of ideas or findings real quick. They're very sciencey, so I'll just brisk through them. But the reason I bring this up is because just so that you know the power that you have, this is all just science validating religious ideas, finally, right? Science is finally starting to catch up. But one idea, the first one, is neuroplasticity. And this is essentially that your brain is plastic, which means that you can customize every aspect of your brain. And there are things like we grow up thinking we're bad at math because somebody somehow told us we're bad at math, or because it was difficult and we thought it was hard, and then it just became too hard. And then, like, I hear you say it all the time. I used to say it a lot too. Oh, I'm bad at math. In reality, you can become extremely good at math if you allow yourself to think about it and work on it and become it, right? So, but like I was saying, this includes your relationship with your spouse. A lot of people believe, oh, we're like this, we're stuck here, or we're like this, we're just these kind of people, right? Or your kids. I hear so many kids talking so badly about their parents. And I hear sometimes, it broke my heart when I was a pastor in Maryland. I remember this one guy talking about his son, like, oh, he's just a screw up. I was like, that's manifest destiny. You're planting that seed in his head so that he believes that he's a screw up. So the best he can do is prove you wrong, right? But how good is that? So neuroplasticity is like you can change the way. If somebody's messed up, the best thing you can do is give them many opportunities to fix those things by trusting them, by helping them to understand that they are not the total sum of their mistakes, maybe up until this point, but that's not their destiny. They can always change it. So neuroplasticity is like you can change the way that you see the world, experience the world, depending on, can you be clear enough about what you want out of life? That's your responsibility, is figure out what you actually want out of this life. Okay? And just to go back real quick, is that a lot of people, when they meet God and join a church, a lot of spiritual phenomena happens, which is external to them. Like, they didn't make it happen. And so they always hearken back in their minds to the good old days when these spiritual things are happening. But that takes away your own authority. You can allow for God to work in amazing ways if you expect that kind of stuff to happen. It's just kind of like you're waiting for this stuff, and you're kind of like you're forcing spirit world's hand. Okay? Because I know so many people that are just kind of stuck, and that doesn't mean it's not an age thing, because I know some kids who are like, 19, 20, who are still stuck in their teens, their early teens, because they think that life is a certain way, and that's how they've formed their thinking. But you can always change that. Second thing, epigenetics has 2 parts, and this is like really cool. So the first part of epigenetics that I understand, because I'm no scientist, I'm just a Canadian, right? That's something Canadians always do, is like, we always say sorry, and we're always apologetic, and like, it's ridiculous. So I've learned when I moved to New York, I was a pastor in New York, you can't live like that. You'll get crushed. New York will chew you up, spit you out, and say, good luck, right? So you got to learn how to be tough. So I had to change that thinking. But the first thing is this, okay, in epigenetics, which is that you can have 2 identical twins that are identical in every single way. Not that you guys are identical, but every single way. Their DNA, very like same, but they're raised in 2 different environments. One is filled with hate and poverty of thinking, poverty of feeling, just like really, tattered environment. And then one that's a thriving environment. And that will trigger different parts of their DNA, and you will get a different human being. And so your environment really matters. Who you hang out with really matters. What you put in your eyes and ears really matters. That's a part of your environment. That's feeding a part of you, okay? So if you want to do amazing things, if you want to have breakthroughs, you want to do tribal Messiah, whatever it is, then you have to be surrounded by people who really believe that that's possible. Second thing is lineage, and this is crazy. When I heard about this, I was like, this is straight out of the Divine Principle. But essentially it's this, that if you have an addiction, let's say you're an alcoholic, and you overcome alcoholism before you have children, then that affects your genetics. Your children and your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren will have less of a struggle with alcoholism. So it's like you're liberating your ancestors in your DNA. This is the story that science is starting to tell. So this is really exciting that we have the power, the victories that we have in life, we not only give to the people in our life because we're more available to them, but all your DNA becomes more cleansed through these actions, which is super exciting. So what does this have to do with anything? Why are you rambling on, Andrew? Well, I'm glad you asked. Thank you for asking. It has everything to do with love, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all we're designed for. That's what this whole thing is all about. This entire cosmos is for us to experience God's love in its fullest and express it in different ways, in more and more interesting ways, to co-create love with God, right? But if we're stuck in a place, then we're not allowing that love to flow through us, right? Are you with me still? Have I lost you? I've been rambling quite a bit. I'm sorry. But I'm just really, I've seen this as being the only way forward. If you want to move forward, you have to take life and understand that it has to bend to your will. But you have to be clear on what that is, and Spirit World will work with you. God will definitely work with you. But you have to be clear on what that is. So this is from True Mother back in Madison Square Garden. Fallen humankind cannot return to God. They need to receive engrafting by the true parents who among all human beings achieve victory. That is specifically the blessing which the Family Federation offers. When this nation and the world is overflowing with these blessed families, and I want to get into that, with these blessed families, God's dream, humankind's hope, true parents' hope, and the one human family's hope can become a reality. Because that doesn't mean you get the ring, you get a t-shirt, you're in the club, boom, world peace, right? Which some people bought into that idea is like, I did it. I got blessed. When do we go? When do we go to heaven? There's still more to do. When the world is overflowing with these blessed families, well, let's get into that. This is from True Father. When God's most precious masterpieces, man and woman, love each other, centering on God, their love is the highest and most transcendental love, not worldly love. Their love is the most beautiful love, the representative of all love, and the love that shines forever. So when people are oozing with love because they know who they are. They know how to complement each other. Like you guys that had a great sermon about that. When you're investing in that and your family is working on this stuff, this is the best kind of work you can do because it makes everything else possible. That's you plugging into the source of love. And when I was in Korea, we were really like knocking down the door because again, we were talking about pornography and we were like knocking on international headquarters. Hey guys, and they were like, busy, come back later. I felt like a Jehovah's Witness a little bit, but we got in and we ended up having a meeting with Yonanim, and she was talking about she just had a breakthrough like a month or two prior to us meeting her, where her entire life she never understood the blessing because she just thought it was about creating a nice happy couple. She thought that was the total sum of the blessing. She's like, just make a nice loving happy couple. But she said she got hit one day when she was reading Hunduke, where it was very clear that the essence of the purpose of the blessing is making sure that God's at the center of that. And when that happens, and I really realized that that is it, because when I run out of love for my wife, and it has happened, because my heart is only this big and it hasn't gone to the next day, right? I have to plug into the source to find out, well, what do you think of her? How do you love her? And that's the ticket, right? So when the families are, when we're really practicing that, that's when peace starts to happen, because the wars start in our hearts. We know this. Because as much as we want world peace to start, do you have any wars going on in your families? Do you have any wars going on in your own self, in your own mind? Do you hate yourself? And like I was saying, we can change all that. Science is really just like beating us over the head with this idea that everything's in your hands. Whatever you want to change, you can change. So this leads to ideal versus reality, which is, again, up until this point, so I'm kind of in between a lot of you. Like I joined the church, I didn't grow up in the church. I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of people's ages. And so I've had to kind of negotiate a lot with people about I see when there's an ideal set in place, it's either, and you don't fit that ideal. You're not perfect. Like we always talk about perfection. If you're not perfect, then it's easy to either just be ashamed of yourself and say, well, I'm a bad person, I'm not perfect like this. Or you just say, well, this is all crazy anyway, and then you just leave and you create a life where you don't have to think about this ideal. Neither one are very healthy, if you look at it, right? Neither one gets you to a happier place. Finding out what your ideal actually is and defining it and figuring out where you stand is the greatest thing you can do. Even if you're far away from that ideal, it's still amazing, because then at least you can know where you stand, and then you can start to chart a course to get closer to that ideal, to embody that ideal. But by just avoiding it, or just saying, well, the church is crazy, headquarters, bad. I hear that all the time. Well, what does that have to do with you and your happiness? That's not preventing you from going out and changing things and doing great things. You're not tied to headquarters, and your mother's saying this again and again. If you hear what she's talking about again and again, she's saying, do tribal messiahship. Go out into the world, help people, find your way in this world. She's talking about Amazon. She's like, they made Amazon, make another Amazon. She's like, the world is your oyster. Please do something, right? But it's this. And so, again, in my work, this, in most presentations that I give is pornography. And so it's when you're feeling great about life. Where you go to celebrate makes a huge difference. If you attribute that greatness to God, then you're on the right path. If you take it for yourself, it's always downhill from there. If you're losing in life and you just judge people and blame people, you're always going to be miserable. But if there you can meet God, then that's so powerful. If you're bored, where do you go when you're bored? A lot of people just unconsciously whip out their phone and they start cruising through Facebook or just start zoning out, etc. Because that becomes your God. Because in a sense, you worship it. And that doesn't mean that you bow to it or anything like that, but that's where you find your source of value and comfort. Right? So a lot of people, when they're lonely, they go to the internet and they create an alternate life. And I really had to talk to somebody strongly when I was in Las Vegas, because I was just like, you have one body. There's no way that you can live two lives for any great length of time, because that'll destroy you. You have to just be honest about who you are and what you want out of life and pursue that. It will never be enough. These things will never be enough. They'll always give you some sort of temporary pleasure, but at the end, you'll realize that although you thought you were using drugs, drugs were using you. They just needed a body. Pornography was using you. You weren't using it. You always feel used after these kind of experiences because it's not the real thing. It's not God. So if you create an alternate life, then you create secrets. These secrets, these shadows will always be enslaving you because, in a sense, you'll never ever be able to be yourself. That's really sad because I know a lot of people who are never fully able to be themselves because they can't just be honest. They can't lay their cards on the table and say, this is who I am. They always have to protect a part of themselves that they don't want the world to know about. And in religions like us, right, it can be, I've made a mistake, and people try to conceal the mistakes that they made. And how does that work out? Have you ever seen a leader or somebody who makes a mistake and they try to conceal it because they're so ashamed of it, about the judgment they feel they're going to receive, and that just turns into this big problem? Anybody remember Love and Life Ministry? Anyway, you can't hold this stuff in because it eventually, especially in this era, everything's bubbling up to the surface. WikiLeaks, good Lord, WikiLeaks. Where was WikiLeaks in the Roman Empire age? There was no WikiLeaks. It's happening now. All these scandals in Hollywood are happening now. It's because shadows are being challenged by the light. This is the high noon era, right? This is the high noon era. So all shadow, if you think you can conceal something, you're just lying to yourself. And there's no need to conceal something. And our world is covered in shadows. So when we substitute God's true love with shortcuts, we always lose. Okay, we'll always lose. If you don't go to the source and you try and find some alternate that's easier, it's never going to be enough, and you'll always end up needing more. So this is the tradition since the fall, as we know, and I don't want to get into too much DP, but you understand that we've created a world where people especially have used sex to enslave themselves and each other rather than empowering. It's meant to liberate, not enslave. And from King David, right, he was like the mightiest guy of his time. He became obsessed with this woman that he saw bathing, lost everything, lost his family, lost his fortune. He died a loser. Clinton, Tiger Woods, my dad's an avid golfer. You've quit golfing like 10 times, and he keeps on going back because he loves it so much. I love it. Remember what happened to him after this? His body started falling apart, right? When all this stuff came out, it was like about kind of sexual stuff, and like he was a really needy guy because his dad was always such a militant guy, and he just wanted value. And then all this stuff bubbled up to the surface, and then his body literally started breaking down, and he was never the same since. I know he's making a comeback now, but it's like it was this sex that destroyed. And if you think about these guys, this guy had the strongest mind you could imagine. I remember you told me that if somebody was beating him in a tournament, they would put that person together with Tiger Woods to play together, and they would always lose because Tiger would get inside their head because his mind was so strong. Clinton, he was the king of the entire world, dealing with decisions every day that could kill millions of people, and he couldn't control this one aspect of his life. It's really deeply rooted in us. And this came out. This is like the whole Me Too thing and the whole Hollywood thing where you have these people that are literally controlling how we think through media, and they are the masters of the universe, and they can't control their sexuality. And this is all bubbling up to the surface. Like, this is after we changed from from pure mind to high noon, and like now this is so clearly, like when this stuff happens, like, are you kidding me? This is so clearly the high noon era. Like these people, I lived in Hollywood for a bit, and I dealt with some of this stuff, even as a guy. And I'm no like Fabio. I don't know if anybody remembers Fabio. I'm no male model, but still, I was getting harassed by these people because they just like having power over you. And there's nobody that you can report to, right? Who are you going to report to? Steven Spielberg, this guy's sexually harassing me. There's nobody. But all of a sudden, all these people started to get challenged. Kevin Spacey, do you guys know about Kevin Spacey? One of the biggest actors out there got charged with all this stuff. They recast him in a movie that was already finished and was going to be released 3 weeks. They're like, sorry, you're done. We'll just reshoot you. He was playing an old man in the movie. They're like, we'll replace you with a real old man. And they got Christopher Plummer in there. Christopher Plummer. That's unprecedented. Like, he was paid The movie was done. They lost millions of dollars doing this, but it's like, this is the high noon era. It's crazy. So internet porn is one of the biggest shadows of our time. And I know this for a fact because I'm getting up in people's lives and they're telling me how much they're dealing with this stuff, right? And when I bring this up, people are like, is it really that bad? It's just like one or two people, or it's not that bad, and there's a lot of this stuff. There's a study that just came out a month and a half ago by one of the biggest porn websites, and they released the data. So first of all porn sites have your data, and they've been selling it, just so you know. But one released the metadata of what they're dealing with in terms of the influence that the porn industry has, and this is from the article. We meaning humanity, dedicated well over 4.5 billion hours to watching porn on one porn site in 2016. Just on one website. Humanity spent twice as much time viewing porn in a year than it has spent existing on planet Earth. That's crazy. This site had over 90 billion views and 44,000 visitors every minute of every day. It all adds up to over 500,000 years worth of porn consumed in the span of 12 months. Since 2015, human beings have spent 1 million years watching porn, right? This is all in avoidance of dealing with their lives. This is an avoidance society that we're in. And if you want to go look at like the state of American finance, it's about like, oh, we'll pay for this stuff later. Let's buy these missiles now. Well, you know, your grandchildren will pay it off. We're like, how many $1 trillion in debt? Like 12, 13, 16, 20? Can I get a 25? And 20 keeps on going up. Yeah, whatever. It's like just a bunch of zeros at this point. It's like trillion. What does a trillion mean? It's because we're avoiding reality of just dealing with the situation. All this stuff just boils down to what? To relationships. Everything. No president is going to fix our problem. I'm going to get into that. So we say in the family pledge, as owners of Channel Guk, we're supposed to be owners of this thing, right? Well, if you're owners of Channel Guk, that means owners of building heaven. That means you need to be in control and owner of yourself, right? So what does that mean? Control of your mind, meaning knowing what you want, knowing who you are to God, to yourself, to your family, how you want to be, and working like crazy to become that type of person. So that you can then your heart can have the space to handle helping other people. And your spirit, to have a spiritual life that's vibrant and defining what that means. Because there are different God languages. Some people experience God in nature, some through reading books. There's different ways of experiencing God, but feeding your soul is really important. So that your body can be a thriving vessel to give God love to people, right? And here's the thing, is that's how two people become one. And again, that's what I've been trying to kind of get into young people's minds, is like they want a happy relationship. Is like, well, do you have a mind to give to your spouse? Do you own your mind? Because if you're watching pornography, it's being hijacked. And then your heart's all over the place, it's vacillating. And then your spirit is like, it's really hard to care and give to other people if you're just kind of consumed in your own self-loathing. So, high noon settlement is possible when there is no shadow. So these are lies and secrets and things that are holding us back, things that we don't want the world to know. When there's no shadow, that's when the high noon settlement is possible. When the mind and body become one, the shadows disappear. When a couple becomes one, the shadow disappears. So it's really all about, that's where heaven starts, right? In the couple. That's where heaven and hell starts. And you've experienced heaven and hell, I'm sure, if you're married. And like learning how to create heaven within yourself as a single person is extremely important. A lot of people just, like they think that divorce rate is just 50-50 because all marriages, it's just kind of like a crapshoot. It's like, let's see how this marriage goes. And I do is like, I do, right? But not all marriages are created equal. Like a lot of people don't invest in themselves prior to getting married, and it's just like led by emotion, right? But at its essence, we can't expect for North and South Korea to come together if we can't really work things out with our spouse and with our kids. It's just, it's a strange expectation to have. And again, a lot of people are outsourcing, like maybe an app will save the world. Yeah. Or maybe like a nonprofit will save the world. Or maybe my president, because your president is crappy. My president will save the world. And how many times have we seen the pendulum swing from left to right and the problems continue? It doesn't matter, right? Obviously, we have our views on this, but that's not going to say, as I'm saying, this is not the problem. They can't, no president can solve the problem within yourself or within your family. That's up to us. So here's some solutions. So I'm not just here to make you depressed. There are solutions that are emerging, plenty. And these are the ones that I'm involved in and what have been consuming my time and why I'm willing to travel so much. The first one is locally, and this is the marriage course that is starting not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. And I would like every couple to eventually go through this and experience it, because it's not too deep, and by showing up, it doesn't mean that you have problems, that you're dysfunctional. In fact, it shows the opposite, that you want to invest in your marriage, right? And I've been through it 3 times. We did 3 times in Maryland. I went through it twice with my wife, and then I just kind of hosted it again. And it's really simple, but it's really powerful. And it's just 7 nights. We're going to hold it on Friday nights. 7 date nights with your spouse. And you don't have to share in front of other people. It's just you and your spouse at a table, having a date. The first half hour is just eating. You guys can handle that, right? Just eating and talking. And the rule is, don't talk about just boring stuff. Just get to have romantic talk to them and hey, how are you doing? Nice whisper. You can whisper in their ear. It's okay. You can even kiss them if you want. Just enjoy your time. And then there's a curricula, which is less than an hour, and it's one topic at a time. So one of them later it gets into one is about sex, one is about money. But before, it's there's one episode which is about, are you a porcupine or a rhinoceros? So are you the type of person that just steamrolls through conversations, or are you the type of person that kind of goes inside yourself and becomes very prickly and sarcastic? That's me. I get really sarcastic and defensive, right? So it helps kind of to unearth these conversations that are too hard to just kind of bring up by yourself, because we go into these automatic states of mind where it's you bring up, you start accusing each other. This is much more friendly, and you're amongst friends. So we have, I think, 4 couples signed up. We can take up to 10. I would like, half of the couples to be 40 and under, and then half to be 40 and over. It works. So you can come find me. I challenge you. And my thinking when we did this, and when I was trying to do in Maryland, is you start here by doing it here, and then the next time you do it, you host it in your house with your neighbors. It's so easy to put on. It's just videos. Everything's already there, and it helps people to heal. I would say on average, 9 out of every 10 couples that go through it have an amazing experience. The other 1 couple is just kind of meh, but I've never seen anybody have a bad experience, okay? So locally, this is what I want, is that we have to invest in ourselves and our marriage. If we want to help the world, we have to really be in a healthy state of mind and heart. So this is locally. On a worldwide level, what I've been working on is we launched highnoon.org. I don't know if you guys have been there, but we used to be puremind.online. Now we're highnoon.org. And tomorrow, we are launching this, not just me, but it's an online and 90-day recovery course for pornography addiction. And we just wanted a small group, so we have 45 people. We have a group of dads who are in their 60s. We have a group of high school kids. And then we have a whole lot of people in their 20s. This is going to be for all ages. Right now, we're just taking unificationists. For these next 3 months, it's just unificationists. And we're going to really observe them and help them. We're going to take another round of people in a few months. And by summertime, we're going to open this up to the world. And it's going to be Mormons and Christians. Everybody's going to start going through this. And we're going to start to help heal. But right now, it's a combination of daily exercises, so between 5 to 10 minutes worth of work, which is either videos or you fill out a form, and then a call once a week for 30 minutes where you just check in with a group of other people who are the same gender as you. And it's unprecedented. We've looked and there's nothing else like this. And it's all DP, but we're not making it religious. It's all centered on DP, but it's not religious. So people, we have a group of Christians that want to join, and we don't want to take anybody more just yet, but we're going to open it up to them later. So, like I started, I want to end on that, is that, like, wherever you're at, because we all have stuff, right? We all have stuff, whatever it is, either self-loathing, lack of confidence on our abilities to show up to this world, maybe issues within the family. All this stuff can be fixed. Whatever you want, if you have the capacity to, like, really not just imagine it in some vague sense, but really, like, this is what I want, and have a burning desire to get there and create a plan, and just, it will happen. If you make no other option, it will happen, right? And that's not just like self-help, be like, you can all be millionaires, because that doesn't fix anything. Money doesn't fix, it's neutral. If you yourself have problems inside, money just amplifies those problems. It's not about that. It's about, what do you actually want out of life, and understand that God wants probably the same thing. If it aligns with your conscience, then do it. There's nothing stopping you. No age, no nothing. Okay? Yeah? So I'm going to just keep on barreling through, and that I just want to say that we moved here because of you. I traveled, I saw most communities. My wife and I fell in love with this community, not the building. It's a nice building, but not like worth driving from Maryland for this building. I mean, it's nice, but it's you guys, right? And we really want to help serve, and my way of starting is just like through this marriage course. But please don't give up on yourself, because I saw so many people, young people, give up on their ideals because it's so hard in this world, because the world doesn't support those kind of ideals that belong to God. It's more like, just be selfish or whatever. That's the YOLO, just YOLO. And then I've seen a lot of older members just kind of say, well, I'm old, and I'm just going to kind of fade away. And I'm like, geez, Louise, that's depressing. Come on, end with a bang, and don't even end. Like, you guys can all live until you're 100 and something, right? Technology. They have laser printers that can print organs now. Come on. We can live forever. So don't give up. Your mind is always the determining factor of so many things. So please understand that if you're clear about what you want from 2018, then make it so that it's impossible to not make that. That means surrounding yourself with people who want to support that, being very clear, and being honest. Okay, I'll end there. Is that it all hinders on honesty, and just being honest with yourself and being honest with other people, not just God, but being honest with people in your life about where you're at, and you'll see that liberation is always on the other side of honesty and honest conversation. It's so relieving, and I see that so many people are too afraid to reveal who they are, and because of that, they can never become the person they want to be. So just be honest, and then I pray. So it wasn't you saying, please shut up, it was saying, pray. Okay. I'll accept both, because I get it. Okay, please pray with me. Thank you. Heavenly Parent, I am so grateful for life, another day of life, and also to be in a room with people who have all helped to forge this world in which we live. So many people invested so much into the providence, which has so much incredible value, because that's like the lifeblood of the world, and you can't always see it, but it helps everything else flow. And this is not the end. This is just the beginning of us building Chanelguk, but that is predicated on our clarity of mind and heart. And I pray that we can really get into each other's lives in a heavenly way and find our way to support each other and lift each other up, so that we can achieve the things that we have so deeply etched into our soul, that we don't get to choose what we long for. It's just a part of who we are, but we get to choose whether we have give and take with this longing. And I pray that we can all connect with our longing desire to do whatever it is that helps make this providence expand in all directions. True Mother is really calling us to do whatever we feel called to do, but just understand that that's just the vehicle to then help create peace in this world. So whether it's in technology, whether it's in our homes and baking and whatever, it can all, with the right heart, transform lives. And then we can really help these people heal, because and I pray that we can all heal ourselves, so that we can help others heal as well. And whatever wounds we have, know that they don't define us, but we can always recreate ourselves in your image, Heavenly Parent. And we love you, and we thank you for that. We thank you for this time where we have access to all knowledge, where we have access to any possibilities. And I pray that we can take bold steps forward in creating a life that's centered on our higher self, not our lower, doubting, dismissive, scared selves, but our higher self, that really sees the potential of endlessness and all the things that you created. So I love you, and I love these people, and I thank you so much that we could all share in this today, and I pray that we can all chew on what type of person we want to be in New Year's and support each other in that, so that 2018, this community we can really thrive and enjoy things that we didn't even know were possible together and share it with one another. And I offer you this prayer on behalf of everybody here. In the Love family name I pray, I do.
Thank you. Huh? All right. That was a mouthful. But it's a lot of talking. But it's really amazing that Andrew can be so open and honest. I know it's not easy standing in front of people and sharing so deeply about what you're doing with everyone here. But I think it's a really great way to start off the new year with New Year's Eve, is thinking about how we want our lives to be and what we want to transform. So let's give all we can to that. Right now we'll take a few minutes just to meditate, pray, think. We'll have the tithe come down the aisle and think about, not just the 10% that you're giving financially through the tithe, but artistically. Money is powerful, and it can move nations, it can move the world, it can move families. But how much heart and love is in each donation that you give, that's what really matters, and that's what really counts. And it makes this whole community that Andrew was saying possible, why they moved here, because there's so much love here. So please, with your donation of your money, what's most important is the heart that you're giving with that. So let's take a few minutes and meditate and pray. All right, and now we'll have the weekly update.
Hi, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. Kim for your weekly update. True Mother just returned to Korea after True Mother restructured our American Church Foundation, and True Mother appointed 5 new sub-regional directors. And True Mother invited them to come to Korea for victory celebration and Christmas dinner together with Japanese and Korean leaders. Around 500 families and leaders join together, and we have a wonderful time. And True Mother share about once again how impressed about the American brothers and sisters. They are great to work, great to support. Our only 5 sub-regional leaders, they did a great job on Christmas dinner entertainment.
It'll be a blue Christmas without you. I'll have a blue Christmas without you. Decorations of red on a green Christmas tree won't be the same, True Mother, if you're not here with me. Not in those blue snowflakes keep falling, and when those blue memories are calling, well, it'll all be alright if your Christmas of white, but I'll have a blue Christmas. It'll all be alright with your Christmas of white, but I'll have a blue Christmas.
Did you see this? This is we received global prize after all competition of entertainment on Christmas Day with Korean and Japanese and many other organizations. We competed, but however, we were so surprised. These 5, our elder brothers, did a wonderful job. Everybody impressed about how they performed very well. Also, our dear brother John Jackson received MVP. We totally committed. We will unite together centering on True Mother for coming New Year 2017. And thank you so much for your wonderful and continued great support for the sake of American movement.
From December 12th to the 15th, religious leaders from many denominations gathered for a Peace Starts With Me Interfaith Conference at IPEC, Las Vegas. During the 4-day conference, the ministers were able to learn more about the Holy Marriage Blessing, building upon their foundation of attending Madison Square Garden. Dr. Ki-Hoon Kim shared about the critical role Christianity plays in fulfilling God's providence, as well as their significance in bringing about the miracle that was True Parents at the garden. On the theme of bringing reconciliation among God's people, the participants engaged in a foot-washing ceremony of repentance and forgiveness. The conference was a productive step towards peace among races and religions.
Recently in Clifton, New Jersey, more than 40 people attended an Ambassador for Peace banquet organized by UPF in cooperation with ACLC, the Family Federation, and the Women's Federation for World Peace. 20 Ambassadors for Peace attended the banquet, which was designed to provide updates on recent important events, such as the Interreligious Leadership Conference and Peace Rally for the Reunification of the Korean Peninsula, both held in South Korea. 3 new Ambassadors for Peace were appointed, and the organizers announced that this is to be an annual gathering celebrating the advancement of peace in New Jersey.
Turning Point, CARP's 7-day Divine Principle workshop kicked off at the International Peace Education Center on December 26th. Over 120 participants, including 30 young adults who are relatively new to the Divine Principle, have been gaining a deeper understanding of God's heart. On the first day, the students shared meals together and connected with their teams. On the second day, Jerry Savito taught about God's ideal for creation. The retreat is to help participants reflect on their life and turn from a self-centered lifestyle to a God-centered lifestyle. The workshop concludes on January 1st. Stay tuned for the full story on familyfed.org.
Hi everyone, here to tell you about a new initiative of the Blessing and Family Ministry. BFM is dedicated to happy, healthy families, but this new ministry is focused on a specific demographic. We know in the future our movement is going to be guided by the next generation, our youth. But there are a few who are, let's just say, a little bit older than 40. We won't mention any names, but there are signs. They're gray hair, no hair. Between you and me, I'm a little over 40 myself. So, we've created a new ministry called the Seniors Ministry. If you go to our website, under Family Care, there's a new section called Seniors Ministry. There we have things like will writing and preparing legally for your passing, living will, other legal issues. There's funeral preparations, not just Songhwa, although we have that as well, but things like prepaying, pre-arranging your funeral so that your family at the time of your passing won't have that burden. There's biography and memoir writing, which is really important to leave your legacy behind. A whole section on True Parents' words on grandparents. There's resources, things like agencies and documents and organizations to help seniors. And last but not least, there's a section on humor. Don't let aging get you down. It may be hard getting back up. So, we're inspired that the second generation is taking over, but let's not forget Mom and Dad. From the Blessing and Family Ministry, God bless you.
Thank you for joining us, And thank you so much for your year 2017's great support, and happy holiday with your family, and happy new year, and see you year 2018.
Very informative and very embarrassing at the same time. At this time, I'd like to let the Sunday school go. Okay, and we will have our local announcements. So our first local announcement is we had a Christmas party, and it was awesome. Thank you everyone that helped, participated. We had games with the kids. Lots of sweets, people yelling at each other. Story time. Santa story time. Oh, it's right there. Did anyone help out with the day, like the games and the food? Did anyone help out with that? Or is everyone too shy? Anyway, we really appreciate you guys. Did everyone have a good time? Awesome. All right, awesome. Thank you everyone that helped, enjoyed. We really appreciate it. Tonight it's New Year's Eve, so there'll be a prayer here at the church. So if you'd like to come, I think it begins at 11:30. So if you want to prepare for the new year, think about it, meditate, please feel free to come at 11:30. And we also have cooking and cleaning signing up. So if anyone wants to help out, sign up. There will be a little sign-up sheet at the back. If you want to make food, enjoy with people, we really appreciate it. Also, the marriage course is starting. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. It's beginning on January 12th, which is soon. So please sign up. It's going to be awesome. I hear great things about it. Next week, the Martinez family will be cooking, cleaning, so if you see them, please give them a big thank you, okay?